intro, but I don't know why. I just don't like doing the intros. So, I just decided we'll just start talking.
Okay.
And then
That was it.
I'll do the cut at the beginning wherever I feel like it or something. Or maybe I'll just say like, "Hi, Amir. How are you?"
Doing wonderful, JJ Co.
Or yeah, I know you say my full name. I should actually say your full name in the beginning so people know who you are.
Right.
Amire Solomon.
What's up, everybody?
What?
What's up, everybody?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Pure Cake, and today my special guest is Amire Solomon. So Amir, I know previously you told me that your first name actually means prince.
It does.
And your last name is the name of a king. So you're basically a prince king.
Exactly. I'd like to hope so, Just need a little extra Prince King money and we'll be good, right?
Are all princes and all kings rich though? I'm thinking like maybe there are some kings like who are technical kings, meaning they have the title and the lineage and all that, but they are flat broke or something.
That's true. That is true.
I-
But wealth is not, or riches are not just money.
That's true.
So
It is connection, it is power, it is influence. It's a lot of those things.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
So hey, I might not have the dinero, but we're all working towards that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Well, I don't know. Like working toward what? What do you mean?
It was just a joke. It was a joke.
Oh, okay. We all want to be all powerful, all influence, and all that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, yeah. I think I don't know. So what would make you feel like you've made it?
That is a good question. So I just turned 30 this past year, November.
Wow, did you?
I know I'm getting old now.
Time flies.
Yeah, I was like what, 19 or I probably was 19 or 20. When I met you. But yeah.
10 years ago. Yeah. What was that? 2011 then, right?
2011 going into 2012. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was like 19, 20 years old during that time. But my goal was to retire at age 30. And like my mindset of retirement wasn't like just retire and but it was more so like just being in a position where I can work when I want to, not work when I don't want to, and just kind of like if I need to take a stroll for a month or whatever to clear my head, I can do that, so
basically financial freedom is what you're talking about.
Financial freedom, but also time freedom, because I think like probably about 6 years ago, I came to the realization time is money and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And so you could have all the money in the world, but if you don't have time to spend it or enjoy other people's company, to me, it's not worth it. And vice versa. You can have all time in the world, but if you don't have money, there's certain things you're going to miss out on or won't be able to have. So, so to answer your question, I think like king status or, that wealth status, prince status would just be being able to do, what I want to do when I want to do it. Being able to travel and not really like have to worry about, like you said, the financial aspect of things, but also have the time, and energy to do it.
Yeah. So as you may know, several years ago after I quit my corporate job, I decided to take some time off and do some traveling. And I traveled, went on several trips domestically for the first 3 months, and the second half of that 6-month period. For the next 3 months, I traveled overseas in a continuous 3-month trip. And thinking back, right, I regret not taking longer. Not staying out there longer. Well, the funny thing is I did travel very frugally. Relatively, very frugally. I did Airbnb wherever I could, and actually, Southeast Asia, where I spent a bulk of that time, is cheap, and so
Right.
you could stay at a decent hotel for like under $50 a night. Which
Oh
is like,
wow.
oh yeah, in some countries you could even do it for like 25.
What?
A night. Yeah, really decent hotel for like $25 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you do Airbnb, and if you do it somewhat not really at the city center, or maybe a little bit off the beaten path, then you could do it for like $10, $20. Yeah, some places it's like really cheap. And food is really cheap. Like you could get a decent meal for like average like $2.
Where'd you travel to exactly?
In Southeast Asia, I did spend a month in Bali. So Indonesia is one of the cheap places. So I think in Southeast Asia, in terms of economy and like and currency exchange and all that stuff, I think the cheapest was like maybe Indonesia, Philippines, and Vietnam.
Okay.
I think they're kind of comparable in terms of like scale, what you could get. I think Thai is a little bit more, but Thailand is still cheap. Um, um, Among them, I think Singapore was the most expensive. So Singapore, I think the exchange rate is about equivalent to like Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. At that time, I don't know what it's like now because I haven't really kept up. Hong Kong, in terms of food and all that, is relatively cheap, but because it's actually very crowded in terms of population, so real estate is high. So hotels were very expensive. Yeah, and I was paying like $100 for a really crappy room.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But also my timing was wrong. Apparently I was there for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. I wasn't there for very long, but the days I happened to choose, there were apparently like 3 other major conferences going on at the same time. So all the hotels were all booked.
Yeah, that's
so
wow.
so it was difficult to find something decent.
I've been there before, ended up in it was Nashville during like one of their big music conferences.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is everything expensive? And I had no idea what was going on, but that's how it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I did travel fairly frugally. But I was I think the whole trip cost me like maybe 10,000 or somewhere between 10 and 15,000 for 3 months. It's not bad
Right.
actually.
Yeah.
And about a month of that was in the US because I drove across the country. So by the time I came back, I decided to come into California and rent a car and drive across the country. So that actually cost me quite a bit.
Probably 50% of the trip, right?
Yeah. But so even including that, it was like between 10 and 15,000, so it's not that bad.
Right.
But now, of course, at the time I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm spending so much money. But now thinking back, I'm like, no, I should have stayed out longer.
Right.
So if you do get a chance to, take some like really, big chunk of time,
Yeah, I'm going to Vietnam.
don't be in a hurry to come back.
Right.
Take full advantage of it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's
Where would you go?
definitely Vietnam. I have a friend who actually, pre-COVID, full disclaimer, he started giving me like these little books, like hints on like, growing food and traveling and all this stuff, and he was in the health sector. And then one day, he was one of my customers for the cell phone repair. And he's like, yeah, man, my phone's broken again. So he met me at my shop and he's like, oh, I really don't have a broken phone, but I just want to say farewell. I'm going to Vietnam. I'm like, how long? He's like, for at least a year. And, we'll see what happens. And, so he's been sending me emails of like all the little mopeds and telling me how amazing it is, how inexpensive it is. Yeah, it looks like he's living life.
Yeah, Vietnam is definitely a place where you can do that. You can stay. Vietnam, Thailand, I think, Indonesia, and Philippines. You could stay for a really long time and not spend a whole lot of money.
Right.
I would say that Vietnam and Thailand are also, but Vietnam and Thailand are more, they have more developed places, I think, overall. I think Indonesia and the Philippines are poorer nations, I think, in various aspects. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Vietnam, despite the fact that it's a communist country, it's it's very capitalistic.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think I didn't really get a whole, lot of sense of well, except at the airport when I arrived, there were a bunch of, officials in uniforms, like military. They look like military uniforms as opposed to
Right.
like airline uniforms, or
Wow.
airport uniforms. But other than that, I really didn't get a sense of like, you know, yeah, that it's like a oppressive regime or anything. But I did get to speak to some of the locals there, and they did say that on a day-to-day basis, it's fine. It's like any other country. It's just that when you have to do certain things, so the people I was talking to were students, and so they were looking to study abroad. So getting that permission to go study abroad is a big deal.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, they're allowed to do that, but I think they're very strict about insisting that they have to come back. Like they can't then move or something like that, because they don't want to lose like intellectual
All right, because everyone would just leave.
yeah, what is that thing called? Not intellectual property. It's like when they lose like people with skills, like
Right.
loss of
Is it like
skill.
dilution or something, kind of?
Um, yeah, I've, yeah, there's a term for
Right.
that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's more of an economic term, maybe, but I
Hmm.
forget what it is. But anyway, how do we get into
Yeah.
this? Oh yes, life of freedom. So what does that look like
Exactly.
for Amire Solomon?
Right. So that's it. So now I know instead of 3 months, do a year at least.
I think
uh,
so.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, right now I think so I've been doing a lot of traveling, of course, for work, but it's kind of opened up the opportunity to see new places, try to experience new cultures, and of course within the means of the United States at this point. But yeah, definitely just more traveling and just trying to acquire more knowledge and skill set. So like during COVID or like the announcement of it, my main goal was to just figure out what skill sets can I acquire. Some of it was music related, some was other business related. But yeah, I feel like I took full advantage of that and really did in the past 3 to 6 months learn new things that I never learned before, and just put energy into things that I wouldn't have had the time to do had I just had a normal work schedule, when everything was just busy and booming.
That's really good to hear, because so many people couldn't really adjust or pivot that well.
Mhm.
For it could be a number of reasons, but yeah, but it's good. I know many people also took advantage of the whole uh, virtual world and everything it
Yeah.
has to offer. Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't really jump. I didn't jump on that boat, honestly. I had a friend. I mean, within like 20 days, he had everything like the camera set up, the audio streams, YouTube, and I didn't think that COVID was going to last that long, honestly.
Mm,
And then also, I just didn't want to feed into, I felt like that was kind of going against, especially like live musicianship. I was
mm-hmm.
like, okay, if everyone starts doing these, Facebook lives with the Venmo tip jar, folks may not want to go see live music again, so
Did
go
you
ahead.
honestly think that though? Because I don't think that's true.
At this point, no. I think, at this point, everyone just wants to get out.
Yeah.
I'm in South Carolina now, so I've had time to go to Georgia, like Savannah is right by Charleston. I've been up to Atlanta a few times, and it's like the past, I'd say 30 days, just playing the few live shows that I have, people have been like itching to be out for the longest. So it's definitely, I think there's really no comparison. But yeah, I was just like, I'm not gonna do it.
There is quite nothing like seeing a live performance.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know that it will ever really go away. It's a little different from, the movie theater experience.
Yeah.
I know that's kind of shifted even way before COVID, with the availability of like Netflix and Amazon started doing sort of the same, I think same day releases, like in theater release of
Right.
certain movies and stuff. And because some people just they don't enjoy the movie theater experience, but some people do.
Yeah.
I wonder, I'm actually curious if once everyone is able to like go out again, if movie theaters will start packing up,
That's it. I think it may be a nostalgia thing,
You know
Or
what I was
go ahead.
Sorry. You know what I was thinking? I was thinking like, why didn't drive-in movies make a comeback during COVID?
Right. That is true.
That could have,
Yeah. A few
substituted.
folks around here did that because we have a lot of land. And I saw like there was but then again, a lot of people were just afraid too of even just being, in a parking lot. So I don't know.
Yeah, but you're 6 feet away at least.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. But hey, some folks tried. They did. They had like the little the blow up jumbotron or whatever you call it,
Yeah.
and some folks they tried, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that would have been
Um,
cool to see.
I know that I mean, I don't know how long ago he started this, but Dave Chappelle started doing outdoor uh comedy performances with a bunch of others. I think Dave Chappelle, Joe Rogan, and a bunch of others. I think maybe in Texas or somewhere they started doing that. Sometime last year,
Right.
they started doing it. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I think it was a parking lot situation. So I don't think people actually came out. I think it was like, I don't know. You know what?
Right.
Never mind. I don't know all the details. All I do know is like it's outdoors.
Hey, I would have been there. That would have been cool. But I was thinking like, yeah, they could just, find a radio station, you tune in, roll your window down a little bit, or what
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just didn't take off. That is true. It did not.
So let's talk about your music.
Okay.
So you come from a musical family, actually.
Right. Right.
Yeah. In fact, your whole family together, you formed a band, a family band, and
Yeah.
performed together for a number of years.
Yep. That was
Yeah.
back in the day.
Back in the day. So
Back in the day.
have you broken off?
We've broken off, the story gets deep, but to keep
Oh, okay.
to
Well,
keep it
maybe.
vague, I
Well,
would go ahead.
no. I'm sorry. Like maybe without divulging some of the very personal details. Like what happened?
Right. I would just say, I think it was definitely a great foundation. Of course, after 2011, 2012, my brother moved to South Carolina, and then I moved probably about 8 months later. So that in itself kind of split the family band, to a certain sense, because my sister was in New York, we were down in South Carolina. I know we both took a hiatus from music for a little bit. And then when I came back to music, probably about a year and a half later after leaving New York, it was more so just doing bass, to be honest. So started the bass thing, and then it just kind of rolled into me being like a pickup bass player for various bands in South Carolina. And then a few years later after that, I formed a band with my brother, and we kind of re-encompassed the whole steel pan thing. My parents would call me every now and then, or call him, go back to New York and help fill in on a gig or something like that. But it kind of just, the whole dynamic changed, I would say, at that point, definitely. And then, of course, it got further as everyone gets older. There's
Yeah.
different focuses, and so.
People go off and live their own lives and that
Yep,
sort of thing. Yeah.
exactly. So, but yeah. So, but like I said, I think it's definitely a good foundation. You know, started with the steel pan and then branched off into basically what happened was after 9/11, I was originally playing the six bass, which are 6 55-gallon oil drums. And they're super big, super heavy. You have to have a trailer to, travel with it. And a lot of like the weddings we were doing, everyone's budget, the whole economy had kind of dropped after that. So it just wasn't uh, like there was no cost advantage to have those type of drums with weddings and things of that nature. So that's kind of what spun me into playing the bass guitar, because it's like, hey, no trailer, we don't have to charge the client more money. It's a lot easier. So that's what segued me into the bass. And then from that point on, I kind of just started branching into other instruments.
So you were playing the bass a while then.
Yeah. I started, I'd say probably my first. So my dad bought me a bass. Well, actually, so I played a show in Long Island. I think I was probably 9 or 10 years old. And my sister, she had a friend who came and watched us perform at the library. And her friend's dad actually had a bass in his closet. He was like, hey man, like I got this bass guitar in my closet, like you want it? Because I played one song for that event on the bass guitar. So he gave me that bass. And then I started messing around with it. And then 2 years after that, for Christmas, my dad got me a bass guitar. But it wasn't really until college that I started to pick up like the bass guitar more seriously. So I had like 3 influential friends in college. One of them, rest in peace, but he was like, listen, man, you're not playing right. You gotta, he's like, you gotta practice every day. He's like, you need to practice until your fingers start bleeding. And
yeah,
I thought it was a joke until my fingers started bleeding, literally, But so like those 4 years in college really took me from like, I'd say 0 to a way higher extent. Yeah. And then, but I've always had like that music, I've always had the music background thing. It just kind of ran in the family. Music was always around. I found like as a kid, I was recording cassette tapes, like recording radio stations on the cassette tapes, and had like my dad's chord piano. I'd mess around with that. So it was always like music was just second nature to me. Yeah.
So your family, just for the listeners' benefit, so your family, you guys play steel drums.
Steel drums, yep. So
yes.
Steel drums, they're known as steel pan, or that's the correct term for it.
Okay.
In the US, everyone says steel drums because it's a drum of steel. But steel pan, it's an oil drum that they turn into that steel pan instrument.
So is it like pounded or something in a certain way so that like different places that you hit actually resonates with?
Exactly. Yep. So what they do is they basically, it's a concave shape. And so what happens, it's a whole process, but you have to basically sink the drum, which gives you like that bowl shape. And then you kind of stencil out all your notes, and they have the same notes as like a piano, the same 12 notes of music. And then you have to basically just hammer each one until they're tuned to each musical note. And that's a very, very simplified version. It goes through like a burning process to temper the metal so the notes stay in tune. And, you have to tune them, not constantly, but they get tuned, they hold tune a lot better than other instruments.
Wow, they actually have to be retuned.
Yeah. So if you drop it.
Yes, that's right. So if it gets misshapen or something, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but for the most part, they actually, the only time they go out really is if you drop it, if you pound it really hard with something other than the mallet, the rubber mallet, or if you're like playing in direct sun, the metal actually, it'll bend, so you'll get like more of a sharp tone.
Oh, that's interesting.
Matter of fact, no, it'll actually be more flat. That's what happened. It'll sound more flat.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, if you're playing in the sun, it actually heats the metal, and as you're hammering on it, it'll.
It actually it'll detune it a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird. And then once it cools off, it goes back.
Yeah. Well, same thing happens with guitar strings, steel string guitar strings.
Right.
Um, uh, Different from nylon string. The classical guitar has nylon strings. They don't happen. They don't get the out of tune in the same way. But like if you go from like a, especially during the summer, hot outdoors to air conditioned indoors, yeah, the strings
It's
just
over.
yeah, it's just you have to constantly retune.
Yep.
Um, but I think the instrument of the steel pan is very interesting because like you could imagine strings like on a guitar, because of the weight and how much you stretch it. I could imagine, okay, it has a particular sound or tone, right? And depending on where you put your fingers, you're shortening the string, therefore the pitch is higher and so forth.
Right.
But a steel pan is, it's still
Yeah,
just one instrument, but depending on where you strike, it's a completely different sound.
exactly. Which is
Yeah.
I think that's definitely the mystery behind the instrument. I've done a lot of like research on it. But basically there's a thing called like equal temperament,
Uh-huh.
which is like some crazy technical musical term and whatnot. But I think it's either, I don't know if it was Mozart, it was one of those geniuses. But the way these pan are made is they had to find a way, the makers found a way to separate the notes, but keeping them on one shape, like one surface.
Yeah, once,
you
yeah.
know. So it's almost like kind of like you said, like a guitar string. As you move up the fretboard or down the fretboard, as you're pressing a different dimension or a length away, it's going to change the pitch. It's something like that, but it's even more different because like they have to stay into, like, each note has to stay there.
Yeah, it's almost like each spot where you hit is sort of it's like a separate string, but yet still connected with the rest of the drum.
Right.
Yeah, it's weird.
It,
But let me tell you, watching someone play the steel pan is just uh dumbfounding to me because like how do they actually know I mean obviously you practice but like, where
no.
you hit and
Oh yeah.
you know
It's why everyone asks that question, and it's like, I know my dad used to respond. He's like, "Well, how do you know where your piano notes are? It's not labeled. It's the same thing where, once you know where they're positioned, you just have to remember where they are."
yeah
You know? But I played a nursing home, like probably right before COVID started. And someone asked me that. They're like, "Well, so what exactly are you doing? Like, it just looks like you're flailing your arms around like this, and there's just sound happening." And so I had to turn the drum around and show them, like, "Hey, look, these notes are, they're not all over the place, but they're not just playing their own song."
yeah it is fascinating. So I mean how old were you when you started playing with the family?
So I was 2.5 years old. So,
What?
yeah, literally.
Like, so your parents have been doing this all their lives practically.
They've been doing it for a while. Yeah, they've been doing it for, let's see, yeah, at least probably 30 to 40 years, somewhere in that time frame. So they started me out, basically I had like, my repertoire was like 3 songs at one point, and then of course it expanded. But by three, I think I knew either 7 or 12 songs.
Wow.
And most of them were in the same key, like C major. But it
Okay.
was still, there's still different songs. And yeah, it was just a matter of me just kind of remembering like the positionings. So, and as they say, music is good for memory and things like that. I just had to remember where the positions were. So it was like, okay, it's gonna be C, F, and G, but you're gonna play them in this order, or play this amount of beats. And so that's kind of where it started, honestly. And I've got videos and pictures to that, I got to pull out the closet, and that shows that. But yeah, that's pretty much when I started.
Wow. So did your parents do this professionally? Like this was their main thing?
So my dad, it was his main thing. And my mom supported him in that. She had another job, of course, and my uncle, my dad's oldest brother, he's the one who actually makes the steel pan by hand. Like he
Wow.
made all the drums that we're playing. He actually is the one who designed them and then he made them. So I know him and my dad were, because my dad, I think, has been playing since he was like 5 or 4, something like that. So, my uncle started him on that drum, and then he just kind of, it kind of transferred into our family, or
Wow.
my immediate family. So, yep, and I've got cousins that perform.
Oh, wow. So it's not just
Yeah.
your family, it's your extended family too.
Right, exactly. Yep. So, yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
So yeah, for
So,
me, I was gonna say, yeah, for me, it's been like some history digging going on for the past. I COVID was, another time to do that. Just
uh-huh.
trying to look back. So 2 years ago, I went to Trinidad, where Trinidad is like they've taken claim or ownership that they're the inventors of steel pan. There's different islands that say they were the first. I don't care. But I went to Trinidad because during Carnival they have Panorama, which is like the largest steel pan competition in the world. And so my uncle, he had went there back, I think, in the 60s, or early 70s, and spent a lot of time there extensively, like learning how to make pan, learning how to tune them better, and create a lot of networks down there. So, I kind of took that trip to, for myself to just kind of understand the history a little bit more.
So your family is from Trinidad?
No, so my family's
Oh,
from Guyana, South America. Yeah.
okay.
So Trinidad's a small island that's a little north of Guyana, but Trinidad sits, in the Caribbean Sea.
Yeah, it's part of the West Indies. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Um, okay. Uh, so is steel pan, is that part of the culture in Guyana?
that I don't really know. I would say not really.
I'm
Um,
wondering how your family got into it in the first place
I'm
then.
still curious about that too. I'm still very curious myself, which, trying to uncover more and more questions, or I don't know. But yeah,
Yeah.
I know that my uncle got a grant, to learn how to make steel pan, and I guess like the creation of steel pan, by the U.S., and he was able to live in Trinidad for a while. So I
Mm.
don't know. You know, I know in the Caribbean in general, though, after World War II, there was a lot of oil barrels and oil drums left that, from the cargo ships and the different military ships, and they were just being dumped in the ocean, like during World War II. And so
Wow.
what would happen is all these oil drums were just washing up on shore in
Yeah.
these Caribbean islands, and so the indigenous people from those islands took this metal and they were like, hey, you know what? We're just gonna mess with it. Some folks made barbecue pits and some folks made steel pan, and between that and then of course you had like the little Campbell soup cans and things like that. I know my uncle said like when he was a kid, he would take the Campbell soup cans and you can only get one note on it, but he would just hammer it and tune it to like C, F, and G, and he could play like little nursery rhyme songs and things
Yeah,
like
if you have like a bunch of them.
that. Yep, just have a bunch and I'm
Basically
gonna
a xylophone of cans.
exactly. Yep. So I don't know when that started, whether he did that before his interest in Trinidad and or if it was after. But I know that in different islands in the Caribbean, there was like that type of innovation going on. Like similar guitar and even
Yeah.
like djembe and stuff like that. There were a lot of different instruments being created at that time.
So the steel pan, then that's the origin of the steel pan, is war refuse.
Yeah, that's it.
Basically.
Right. That's
It's
crazy,
just
right? Yeah.
yeah. I know I recently, on one of my earlier episodes, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a photographer, and he spent a good deal of time in Southeast Asia, particularly like Cambodia and Vietnam and places like that, where there was, it's basically war-torn countries or previously war-torn countries. And in rural areas, there are all these bombshells left over. um I don't know if these were bombshells that, or if they're just casings, so after the bombs ejected, maybe it's the empty casings or something. But anyway, they're all across the countryside, so natives will pick them up and make things with it. They'll
Wow.
make like barbecue pits, like with the steel drums. And
Right.
and there was even he took a picture of, he's a photographer, he took a picture of this entire fence that were made with these casings, like placed upright next to each other. Yeah, it's like
Right.
crazy. Yeah.
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 That's awesome. Yeah. But that's kind of how it was. It was just like taking a trash and turning it into treasure,
And creating a whole culture out of it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing, like one of the coolest things about steel pan that a lot of folks don't know is it has its own like orchestra of like the steel pan family. So from that one 55-gallon drum, depending on how you cut it. So if you keep it the full drum, you're going to get a lower tone. It's going to sound like a timpani or something. But the shorter you cut it, you're going to get like a very high pitched like violin sounding. So depending on who the pan maker is, they cut different depths and have like different shapes of the notes. And you can get the bass, you can get like a mid-range for chording, you get the lead to play melodies, and then all of them play together, and you don't need any other instrument to accompany it, and you'll have every single tone within that.
Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, I will say, having listened, I did come to one of your performances and your family's performance, and did see you guys perform. But I have been exposed to steel pan or steel pan music before. I mean, I was aware of them, but it's one of those instruments where it's impossible to make a song, even a sad song, sad. Like, it doesn't matter what you play on it, it always sounds happy.
Right. That is true.
You could take the saddest song ever.
Right.
And I'm somewhat of an expert in writing sad songs. Apparently, I write sad songs really well. So yeah, I have this tendency, like I even have the ability to take a happy song and make it sound sad. I can do that.
So you gotta do the Pharrell cover of Happy. Let's see what turns out.
You know what? I'll take that challenge. I'll record a demo and send it to you.
Right.
If it's any good, I'll even put it on my channel.
That's funny.
But on a steel pan, everything sounds happy. And
that's true.
Yeah. And it's like, and it's such a fun thing to watch perform, but also just a fun sound to hear.
Right.
Yeah. So you know what? I actually have a surprise for you. So that performance I did go to, remember I took some videos.
Right.
So I'm gonna, for the benefit of the audience, I'm gonna play it. So let me share a screen. Let's see. Share sound. Okay, so this is my Facebook page. So that video, by the way, still has the highest number of views of all the videos I have on my Facebook page.
That's awesome.
All right, so let's open this up.
Cheese and peas, did y'all see that? I want y'all to make some noise for the lady in the building called T. Solo. Yes, sir. All right, run it. Okay.
Okay, there you are over there on the bass, way in the back.
Nice freeze frame.
I was trying to so when I was taking this video, I was trying to frame you in, but this guy in front kept getting in the way.
Oh yeah.
So this is your sister singing, and I
Right.
think is this man in the white, is that your father?
Yeah, it was my dad.
And I think next to you, behind this guy, you can't really see it right now, that's your brother.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. I think your mother is not she's not performing at this particular time.
Nah.
Okay. Does she usually perform?
So she was more of a manager. So yeah, she's performed on a few shows, but she's more so has been management for, during that time.
Okay, I'm just gonna stop sharing. So if anybody's interested, they could go to my Facebook page.
Exactly. Go ahead and give JJ some more likes, more views.
I
gotta grab my laptop charger if you don't mind. 2 seconds.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
1 sec.
Okay. All right, cool. So you were saying that your mother she handles more of the business end of things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like bookings and price negotiations and
all that. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, good for her. Yeah. Taking care of the family. Yeah. Was that a choice on her part? Like, did she not want to play?
I don't know. I really don't know. That's a good question. It's really a good question. Yeah. I know she's attempted to play, but some folks are more musically talented than others.
Well, that's right. And she's not blood. Not your she's not blood with your father.
Right.
And it's your father's family, that side who's musical. Yeah.
So but yeah, she's played a few shows, but she was more so always management.
Yeah.
That aspect. Yeah.
Does your sister play, or does she usually sing?
So she plays and sings. She's been doing, so my parents have been pushing her solo project in New York, I'd say since we left South Carolina or left New York. So, but yeah, she sings and plays as well.
So she's gone on to like a musical career then.
So yeah, so they're helping her with her musical career. Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So is that something that you and your brother want to do, like music full time?
I'm not sure what he wants to do. For me, yes. It's just a matter of trying to figure out like in what way. So I've had different, of course I've been the little superstar kid, I guess at 3 years old, playing some music, and then as a bass player, you're always in the background, just accompanying, like you have a prominent sound in the band, but you're not really a prominent figure to some people. But it's just kind of figuring out how to go about it, because I've been doing a lot more teaching, and then also production, like music production. So during the time of the video, I had a studio in Charleston, but when you're dealing with the studio, it's like, and music equipment, it's never really a good mix. People equate music equipment studio with money and opportunity, and so sometimes, at least from my experience.
Wait, maybe I missed something. What?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I had a studio in Charleston, and my focus when I created the studio was more so trying to help live performers to kind of just expand their opportunity, I guess you'd say. So I had a full drum set, soundboard, bass amp, guitar amp, the whole yard, and it was supposed to be kind of like a place for musicians to come and rehearse and just, because Charleston, there's a culture where it's more so like a pickup type of musicianship. It's not really like set bands. So what would happen is you just get a phone call from somebody and it's like, hey, I got your number from such and such. Can you play this gig tomorrow? And it's like, okay, I'll send you the set list tomorrow on the way to the gig. And so you get a set list of like 50 songs. You don't know what key they're in, and then you're supposed to know all this music, And so that's happened to me numerous times. So just kind of seeing, and then you see the same bass player with like 10 groups or the same drummer with like 10 different groups. And so I kind of saw an opportunity. There was a space available at one point, and I was like, hey, you know what? If I jump on this, I think it may be a benefit for a lot of people. You know, and the goal at that time was, if musicians practice more, you know, with their band, they sound tighter, you can now charge more money.
Right. In
So,
theory, yes.
It's right, in theory, you know. So because let's see, I guess taking a step back historically, when I was performing with my parents, it was more so private events that we were doing. So it was a lot of weddings, cocktail hours, bar mitzvahs, things like that. And then when I branched off and started in college, it was more church events. And then when I got to South Carolina, it was a lot more bar and like club related events. And just from experience, bar owners, especially like your bar and clubs, they just don't want to pay, you know, and that's just
wow. Really?
Yeah.
Is that common across bars and clubs across the US, or just in South Carolina? Oh, I think you froze. Okay, there we go.
All right, we're back. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. You froze up and then you got disconnected.
Yeah, the circuit breaker tripped. It was that MacBook charger.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I have one of those like surge protector things that like save certain things, but I should put my router on there. That would have been smart, you know.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I've got like my computers and everything on there, my speakers, but yeah, I don't have my router, so it just stripped the router out.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, no, that is important. All right, cool. So yeah, if you get is the router on the surge protector now?
It's not, but I changed the destination of my charger, so it shouldn't happen again.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see, because you had too many things on that. Okay.
Oh yeah, there's a lot going on in this
room. Anyway, so my last question was bars and clubs not paying musicians. Is that a thing everywhere?
As far as I know, yeah. So I know like my dad and my uncle, they performed out in Pittsburgh for a while, and the rates that they were getting when I wasn't even born are some of the rates that they're trying to pay us now. You know, so
wow,
yeah,
that's like
yeah, it's bad, you know. I'm like, come on, match gas prices, do something, you know.
Yeah.
But like $100 a man in Charleston has been like the industry standard. I know in New York, it was something similar to that. And
yeah,
I think it all depends. It really depends on, or it's based off of what you can negotiate, really.
Yeah.
You know, and so that was kind of like, it was a task or a challenge that I was trying to take up at that time. Was like, hey, let's give the bar and club owners a reason to pay us more money, you know? Because I've had conversations with some club owners and they're like, why am I paying you guys $300 to drink a bunch of beers and hang out with your buddies? Like, that doesn't make sense, you know? And I'm like, well, it's not just drinking beers and hanging out with buddies. Like that's not what music is about at all, you know? Like, we have to learn the music, we have to rehearse it, we have to memorize it, we have to coordinate our schedules together, you know, we have to sound decent, our equipment, you know how it goes.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. I mean, I know that well, my experience is only in New York because I haven't really performed anywhere else, but also as a consumer of music, I mean, I have gone to clubs and bars outside of New York, obviously when I travel and stuff, but mostly my experience is in New York. And I know there are different types of venues. There are venues that pay musicians to come and perform because that's their thing.
Right.
You know, that's like their main thing is they're a music venue and people come specifically to hear music and buy drinks and food and stuff, you know, and that. And then there are bars and restaurants and places that kind of have music on the side. Their main thing is drinks and food.
Exactly.
But they sometimes have live music and open mic nights and things like that. I know places like that where it's not their main thing. Sometimes the musicians play for tips. Sometimes, you know, if there is a cover charge, they'll get a portion of the cover charge, you know, that sort of thing. I know, so it's different depending on the venue, but I didn't realize like bars and clubs. I mean, I'm thinking clubs at least. Isn't
Well,
music part of the whole scene?
exactly. Well, yeah, Charleston like really doesn't have clubs. We don't have clubs here. It's pretty much a bar or a restaurant that turns into like a late night venue type of
Right.
thing. So it's not really like, it's definitely not compared to like a club in New York at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, the main thing really is I guess for the restaurant owner, keep expenses low, you know, maximize profit. And you know, the sad thing about the musicianship that I've seen, like the crabs in the barrel type of thing, is if I decline the gig, if I say, hey, I don't want to play for $100, there's going to be 100 people lined up behind me that'll play for 90 or 80 or 50 or just a beat.
Oh, you froze again.
I just feel like is one thing to
wait, hang on. Sorry, you have to kind of rewind like 5 seconds because you froze.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, you know, if one person if I decline a show for $100, there's going to be 10 other people that'll take it for, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And so it kind of creates a situation where there should be a union or something, but there just won't be. And so
I don't know. I don't know. I think there is something in the air where different industries are trying to unionize, like Amazon, for example, because of what's going on in Amazon. There's a lot of like media coverage and all that stuff, and I was recently listening to a podcast, and they were talking about unionizing. What industry is that? Shoot, I forgot. I think it's something along the lines of performance. I think the person who was speaking was a comedian, so it was something along the lines of. Oh no, I'm sorry. Coffee places, baristas, and stuff like that. Never mind. Completely different.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. There's always gonna. I mean, like when I had that one comment from that restaurant owner when she made that comment, I'm like, well, you know, you can buy a 6-pack of Corona from the gas station for $10, but you know, some places charge $10 for one beer. Like, what justifies that? You know, and you can't just say it's because you're in a social environment versus being, you know, at home. So it's just the one thing that I've seen just growing up, watching my dad more on the musician side, my mom on the business side, and then of course having a business background in college, is they're really a lot of musicians over history have been taken advantage of because of the lack of business sense behind it, you know, and it's still happening to this day.
Yeah.
And you know, can't save the world.
Yeah.
But you know, it's definitely so. What I tried to do was the steel pan is so different, and there was no competition where I was with steel pan. So that was basically like my number one reason to say, hey, listen, you're not going to pay me what you pay everyone else, you know, because there is no competition. So if you want us, this is the price that you're gonna have to pay.
Yeah.
You know, so we were able to kind of move the rate up a little bit, but if you don't have other musicians that want to follow suit, you know,
yeah.
So if it's one venue that typically pays 300 and we got 6, you know, I'm like, hey guys, when your band performs there, go for 6, don't go for 3, because they have the budget to do it, you know. And if everybody were to come up to 6, you know, it may kind of change something. But you know, a lot of folks were like, nah, we're good, we're not gonna push that, we enjoy performing, you know.
I guess also it depends on why people are performing, you know.
Right.
I mean, in my case, I don't go for gigs. I think I don't really categorize myself as I'm not a working musician.
Right.
Let's say that. You know, I'm more of a musical artist where my main thing is writing songs, recording them, putting it out there, and getting like 2 plays on Spotify a month.
Right.
You know that. Obviously, I'm not doing this for the money.
Right. That's so good though, you know. Hey.
I was like browsing around. So I recently joined a bunch of like singer-songwriter groups on Facebook, and every once in a while, like I'll look up some of them, and on Spotify, and see how many plays they got. Um, I know, what? I know what happened. I was looking up a musician that I actually know, and I looked him up on Spotify, and he had like a few hundred or 1,000 uh, plays per month, and I'm like, well, and I look up my profile. I think I had like 2 plays, the past month or something.
Oh man.
But you know what? I'm actually surprised I got 2 plays.
Hey, but you're up there, you know. There's a
I
lot of
know,
folks smart.
because on Apple Music, I get a weekly summary report from Apple. For some reason, I must have clicked yes on the notification. Every week I look at it, 0 plays.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also not promoting myself that hard,
Right.
so.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, back to you, because you're the guest. But good for you. Good for
So,
you for
but it was,
negotiating.
yeah. So just I guess to close that conversation off, so I had the studio, and I thought it was going to be an amazing rehearsal space, and that was just my idea of, hey, rehearse, sound tighter, you could generate a better sounding performance, maybe ask for more money, get invited to concert type things, but it just, everyone's vision was not there, or a lot of people's vision wasn't there, and then so yeah, so I kind of just ended that situation,
So where do you feel people's attitudes and sort of outlook are in terms of their own musical
I think
path?
I think everyone just has different visions, like you said, some folks just do it for the love. Like I've got friends that just, I mean, they make phenomenal music just to play for their friends and be like, hey, listen, do you think this sounds cool, and it sounds great, but they really don't have any desire to, like, you know put it out there as a professional artist, and I've got a lot of friends who work day jobs, and they want to feel like a rock star at the end of the night. So they'll play a show from 10 to 1, and so I think it's everyone. I think the hardest thing, and this gets back to like my band. So the band that you saw, it was called Sounds of Sand, and I mean, we, within less than a year, we started from an idea, and then was opening up for Kimani Marley, one of Bob Marley's sons, and we opened up
Wow.
for him twice, but if you
Wow.
don't have the right team around you and everyone doesn't have the same vision, then you're just going to kind of be, you're going to be running in circles, kind of chasing your tail.
Is that something that you would want for yourself, is to open up with a better known artist to
Yeah.
start?
Yeah, I think to start, definitely. I think that once I feel like just being in that situation, because we also got to spend time with Future Fambo, who he did this song called Red Bull and Guinness, the Drunken Master. And it's like, you gotta
Sounds
look him up.
fun.
Yep, Future Fambo. But right now he's doing a lot of work with like DJ Khaled, and but he's another reggae artist. But I feel like once you're at a certain or sometimes you get those opportunities to be at a platform where you can rub elbows with these people, and if you meet the right person or have the right conversation, just like the elevator speech type thing,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
it can definitely catapult you into different situations, because it's not always about just having good music, but it's the connections.
Yeah, and people forget music, like any other industry. I mean, we know, because you have corporate experience, and I certainly come from a corporate background. There, networking is number one
Number
way to
one.
get anything. Get a job, get ahead, get recognized, whatever it is that you want out of a professional career,
Right.
networking is like the number one thing. And every career building speech, talk, conference you ever go to, that is the thing that people tout over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. you know, and so it's like, yeah, if you're in the elevator with the CEO, if you can strike their attention within those 10 seconds, you know, you might end up, you know.
Yeah,
but
people forget, but music is on one side, a major side of it is a business, and you have to network there too.
Right. You know, so yeah, that would definitely be like, I know Future Fanboy, I spent some time with him when we were waiting to get called on stage to perform our set, you know, and I think him and I might have had a conversation for like 45 minutes to an hour. And then he got invited back to Charleston to do a show. I wasn't on the show, and I happened to just be driving down the block and I saw him walking to like the store next door from where they're performing. And he recognized me. He's like, oh, he's like, bassman, what's up? You know, and it's like, to just run into somebody like that, who I'm sure he sees billions of people, you know, just to even remember just from, you know, a few minute conversation. I think that's really what it is, trying to be influential and impactful, you know, and just kind of work your way up from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is your ultimate goal with your music as far as your music is concerned?
So I've got like probably 2 or 3 different ideas. So they're not necessarily just one. The performing side of things, I love performing. I definitely love like the crowd and, you know, the energy, being able to give the energy and also receive energy through performances. So that's definitely fun. And I'd like to see how far I can take that. And then the education aspect, I think, is huge as well. So after my band dismembered,
wait, your band with your brother or with your family?
Yeah, exactly. My band, my brother. So yeah, so
so you're solo now.
So yeah, I'm solo. My girlfriend, she actually helps me, and we do some duo things. The name of our group is called the Steel Empire now.
Nice.
Yeah, STEO, Steel Empire.
Yes.
But so I kind of went from bass to having shows lined up still that kind of required a band, and having to change it to like solo and duo type things. But during that time, we also went into the education sector, and just watching how impactful it was to some of the kids, especially like underdeserved communities. You know, they were, I mean, it was just huge, you know. And so to try to get more support in that aspect, I think would be great. Because you just see, like, I know how it affected me in terms of just memory and being able to take like those skills and transfer it into doing other things. I think it'd be super impactful on the youth and even just adults too, like being able to do something fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Actually, maybe consider working with like seniors, because one of the things that actually help mental sharpness and is learning something physical that requires coordination.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've started to push that a little bit. So basically like memory classes, because I know seniors, they do a lot of xylophone and kalimba. And so steel pan is very similar. It's easy because you just have the mallet and all you have to do is strike. Like, you know, you don't have to use your fingers and have like hand dexterity and all that. You know, you can literally just strike a note and you're gonna get sound out of it.
Yeah.
So of course, COVID just, you know, it closed the lid on that whole the whole senior thing right now.
Not permanently though.
Yeah, not permanently. Yeah, but you know, so but yeah, so education, performance, and then the production side of things. So I don't know when I started producing. I'd say I think like I composed my first song called "Gliding Moon" when I was like 6 or 7 years old. And so like the way it was growing up in my house was in our basement. My dad had like all these instruments set up. So we had bass, guitar, piano, drums, anything you could pretty much imagine was downstairs, and it was always set. So whenever I felt like doing anything musically, I just go down and I just start messing around. You know, it was like musical chairs by myself with instruments. So just kind of got into the idea of composing, seeing how different instruments coordinate and work with each other. And so the past 4 years, my main goal was working on like creating my own production. So Prince, which my name is Prince, but Prince, the artist formerly known as Prince, you know, he's another one of my inspirations. Amazing musician, amazing performer, but him being able to compose like his own album, especially at the time that he did that, I think was phenomenal.
Yeah.
So taking it to, you know, 2021, my goal was not just having like a good sounding live performance, but being able to produce my own albums or produce my own music, and then also produce my own like visuals and social media. So that's kind of what that's where my focus has been recently, was having, you know, trying to get top-notch video, sound, and, you know, song selection.
So video meaning like music video.
Yeah, music video. Yeah. So I sent you a link. I know it was
yeah. So we're gonna listen to, should we listen to that now?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, let's do that.
It's a cover.
Oh, it's a cover.
Yep.
Yeah, that was gonna be my first question. Is this an original song? But you answered
so
it.
It's a Dance Monkey is a cover, and all the music was we did the production of it. So
wait a minute. No, that's not it. So Come Close is what I got. You sent me something else?
So I did in an email.
Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing because I have to open my email then. I don't want people seeing my email. Okay.
So Tones and I is the name of the group or artist, and the name of the song is Dance Monkey. And then featured in it is Chelsea, my girlfriend, and myself.
Okay.
And
okay, here we go.
Yeah, it's the YouTube link.
The YouTube link? Okay. Let me open that.
So yeah, we did the audio recording, and then we also did the video.
All right, I have it open. I'm gonna share. Little blooper. Oh, that's cute. That's so adorable, you guys. Yeah. That's your girlfriend.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I know that you sent me notes a couple of times. Hey, I'm coming up to New York with my girlfriend. Let's meet up. But I think that never happened.
Yeah, and then we had
was it this past weekend or this coming weekend?
Super short trip this past weekend. Yeah. So one of our friends just had a baby yesterday, so we saw her before she went into labor, and so you know, it was like, and then we were also celebrating my girlfriend's birthday, so it was just like a last minute, let's go to New York.
Yeah.
West 11 hours. Okay.
Yeah, but that's a lot going on. Yeah, I don't think you would have had time to.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough, But
yeah, and then my message to you was, sorry, I'm not getting on the subway or anything until I'm fully vaccinated.
No.
It's like, no.
Oh yeah. No, but because of your message, I didn't take public transportation either. I was going to, and then I was like, you know what? Maybe that is a good idea. Maybe I should not. And so we drove everywhere. So
yeah, I figured because I figured you might be driving up, so why would you? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say if you can avoid any crowded places, until
everything's under.
Yeah. But I mean, a recent report I heard was, although in some places cases are going up, I think overall cases might be spiking up and down or something, but deaths related to COVID is definitely going down, which is a good thing.
Right.
So, which means that people who are vaccinated, if they're getting sick, if they're catching it, they're not getting sick and dying. And also there's a good deal of like herd immunity starting to take place. So people are not spreading it as much, and, whatever. Don't listen to me. I'm not a medical professional. So I'm just repeating very poorly what I heard in the news.
Right.
Well, the gist of it is,
right,
we're on our way to, better pastures.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing was, you sent me a MP3.
Right.
Yeah. So should we listen to that? So this,
Sure.
I think, what is it called?
Come Close.
Come Close. So that's an original song, right?
It is. Yeah, it's an original. Yeah.
Okay. That's an original song.
I haven't released it yet. I'm kind of like
stop share. I shared the wrong thing.
Yeah. But yeah, it's unreleased, but I figure for your podcast, let's do it,
Oh, right. Okay. My podcast is being recorded and I'm putting the recording up on YouTube, right? You know that.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So it'll be a sneak peek. Heard it first on JJ's podcast.
There you go.
Yeah. Only like 3 or 4 people have heard this.
Well, why is it telling me to do that? I heard it. There we go. Okay.
I know right where you stand, so put your hand in my hand. Grab your waist and slow dance, cause you want to get closer. I want to get closer. I know right where you stand, so put your hand in my hand. Grab your waist and slow dance, cause I want to get closer before the rhythm is over. Picture me or you and me a free. Inna the sheet, them say we tall like a fig tree. No time of week, nobody can stop we. No quarantine, can never hold me from you. Strong like a bone, sharp like a mobby. Take you from man, put you in a Ferrari. So me see the girl wanna sing like a shanty. You the type of girl to bring back to my mommy. Panny bitch, she on a roller. Show girl, itty bitty kisses on your shoulder. She got me mind up on her waist, got me begging on my knees, saying, baby, can you please come on over? She's a showstopper, a real showstopper. Give me motivation, put me top of your agenda. I can't take caution, so let me give it to you proper. Take this dance and come with me. Are you a C? Close to me want. Close to me, I need you. Close to me tonight. Close to me, I rock you. Close to me, I want. Close to me, I need you. Close to me tonight. Tonight, I want you. I know right where you stand, so put your hand in my hand. Grab your waist and slow dance, cause you want to get closer. I want to get closer. I know right where you stand, so put your hand in my hand. Grab your waist and slow dance, cause I want to get closer before the rhythm is over.
That's short. I was expecting more.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it had kind of a reggae feel a little bit, right?
Yeah. Kind of like, yeah, it's supposed to be like a vibey, you know, they call it dancehall reggae, you know, so.
Yeah.
You know.
It sounded definitely like a dance song. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like you could either relax to it in your car or, you know, you could dance, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely felt like, wait, that's it? I want more.
You gotta do an extended version now.
Well, I mean, well, it also did kind of like end a bit abruptly.
Yeah.
I thought, is that intentional?
That was intentional.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm in the middle of working on an album. So I'm gonna try to find a creative way to bridge all the songs together, you know, and I want to have like those dynamics happen, you know. So
yeah. That would be really cool. I think one of Pink Floyd's album is like that. It's like the entire album is like there's like extreme continuity. I think it's the one with the prism, you know, on the cover. What is that? I forget what it's called.
I can see the picture in front of me.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah.
All right, Pink Floyd. Is it This Side of the Moon or something?
Okay.
Wait, hold on. Oh, come on. Okay, my phone's like really slow. It's not Pink Floyd The Wall. That I know.
The Dark Side of the Moon. Is that the name of the album?
Yeah, that's it. I think. Yeah, The Dark Side of the Moon. I think it's that album. I think from beginning to end, there's like a real continuity. Like you don't even like in some sections, like you don't even know when one song ends and the other one begins. It just kind of like flows right into the other. You know,
yeah.
I think it's that one. Yeah. But anyway, I do remember the Wall album more because I saw the movie like multiple times.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know, when you have like multi senses coming in at the same time, like it sort of solidifies in your memory, you know, more so.
Yeah, visual and audio. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. All right, so you're working an album. Is this your debut album?
My first independent album, yeah. So when I was 3, I had a little cassette called Amire at 3, and I had like 6 songs on it, you know, but it was steel drum, you know, it was more so like just me as a feature. So yeah, this album is gonna be basically like all of my 100% creativity. You know, my vocals, my production, and my instrumentation.
Yeah, okay, your instrumentation. So you're playing all the instruments as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So actually when I was watching the video of you and your girlfriend, I was gonna ask, does she play? And she does. Wait, so did you happen to meet somebody who plays, or did you
It's
teach
funny.
her?
Everyone asked me that question. Like, yeah, I went to steelpandating.com and, you know. No, so we actually, interesting story. So not to get, the next podcast will get more detailed, you know, into the nitty gritty, but basically it was like a Friday my band had a show on Saturday. Band broke up Friday night before the gig on Saturday. Saturday had to have a whole new band just for that temporary show. Monday actually, I had a like a residency, and every Monday show, and so I called everyone that I knew to help me as a duo because I could no longer do that duo the way it was supposed to be. And drummers, vocalists, guitarists, you name it, no one was available.
Wow.
So it was like in 2 days. So Chelsea, she's like, hey, you know what? You can't find anyone. You've been calling all day. I'll help you. Like I'll try to learn the music or whatever. So I'm like, this may work. She's like, I think you're a pretty good teacher. Because she was helping me, we were teaching in the schools. And so that was her extent of steel pan knowledge was, showing the kids like how to hold the sticks. But yeah, so we spent probably 8 hours, like 2 days before the gig, just, trying to learn some chords.
Wow.
And she filled in for that gig, like the first show, and she's like, this is kind of fun, I like it. She's like, you're gonna have to find a replacement though.
She didn't want to keep doing it.
Yeah, it's like she likes it, but she's like, I'm not a musician. And I'm like, once you understand musical notes and you have timing and coordination, in my eyes, you're a musician.
Well, the fact that she picked it up in 8 hours is very impressive.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
I mean, she's a natural, actually, if she picked it up that fast.
So yeah, she picked up, and the one that she's playing is known as the tenor pan. So I don't play that. Like I don't, I know where the notes are, but that's not my instrument of choice, and it's not one that I grew up playing. So, it was like, hey, listen, I'm going to show you what you're supposed to do on this, but don't ask me too much because that's not my forte either. I'm a bass player, So, no, but she picked up the chords, and, we did that show. And then it was crazy because that first gig, that we played, there was a couple visiting Charleston, and they actually hired us for a birthday party like the following weekend off of that show. And had no idea that she had like a 24-hour crash course on.
Wow.
Yeah,
well, no, you don't ever tell people that. No,
definitely not. No,
tell her she's been playing for 24 years.
Exactly. So she picked it up, and then she now plays a 4-bass steel pan, which if anyone sees a link from this video, they can go on and see some other covers that we did. So yeah.
Well, that really is impressive. Yeah, because I'm not somebody who picks up instruments very easily at all.
Same here. I wouldn't, not within 48 hours. I couldn't do that either.
No, especially anything that requires rhythm. Forget it. I suck at rhythm. My brother is actually a sort of a natural musician. He taught himself how to play the drums, guitar, bass, you name it, the flute. Yeah, he taught himself how to play all those things. Mm-hmm. So one time he was like showing me like a certain beat, and he's like, boom, 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 boom. Okay, this and then something else. And I'm like, I'm sorry, they sound the same to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But so then the band is now you and your girlfriend.
Right. So most of our shows right now are either solo and duo. We do have I have a drummer that accompanies us sometimes, and we've done a few gigs with like drums and saxophone. So we'll do more like full band events. Mm-hmm. But yeah, for this past year, COVID has been more like low key anyway. So I think it was a perfect time to kind of just consolidate and just, go back to the drawing board, because we can it's easy to add drums.
Yeah, is it? No, when you say it's easy to add drums, you mean like a drum player?
To add a drummer, I know I have like three drummers that are really good. And they know the material already, so it's like that's easy to fill that in if we were to have a bigger show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the cool thing or the goal is to definitely start performing some of those originals too. And being that I did all the production already behind the scenes, it'll make it that much easier for the live shows. You know.
Well, would you I mean, are you looking to like actually create a band?
You know, I really don't know. I really
Yeah.
don't know because like I did the band thing already, you know,
Yeah.
and it was going great, but it was also very taxing. And I don't want to say disastrous at the end, but it definitely, like I said earlier, if everyone doesn't have the same vision, and then if everyone doesn't want to, I don't expect people to kind of like match my effort 100%. You don't have to, but at least try to match 50% or 20%, something, you know. And if it feels like I'm just driving this train by myself, it's just like, you know, it's
Yeah, Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, that has an interesting story. So apparently all the musicians in his band actually also do their own thing. But when he calls them, they come together and play, you know, like go on tours and, you know, and record or whatever it is that he needs done. But it's not like this is a kind of a bad example because it has a torrid history. It's not like the Eagles where, you know, where you know, it's like they, you know, they are a unit together, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know why. Like the first band that came to mind was the Eagles. Like why not anybody else?
Yeah.
I don't know. Actually, all the bands that come to mind are they have a sort of a bad breakup, like the Beatles, the Doors.
Yeah, it's, you know, it
well,
was
the Doors, he dies. I mean, that's how it breaks up. But
that's a little different. Yeah.
Although I think the band broke up before he died. I think he stopped. I think they stopped.
Right.
And then he just kind of, you know, kind of sort of wasted away, I think. But yeah. But anyway, sorry. Yeah, you were saying.
But no, it's just one of those things more so like, I think for me, it's just like energy and like, where do you want to put your energy? And then, you know, the return of your energy for what you put out. So, because by no means was I, especially like the band that I did have at that time, was not making me rich at all, you know? And it was like, being an entrepreneur and having two other businesses, those were definitely paying the bills compared to the music. So the music was more so like, okay, I'm following my dream, my passion, something that I'm definitely good at and I've experience in, but it was like, I'm trying to build something that I think could be great, you know? Because of course, the cool thing about incorporating steel pan is it's not just performance and like that nostalgia, but it's also education and, you know, preserving history. So that was kind of like, that was my motive behind that, was like, hey, we're kind of at a beach town. Charleston is a beach town, and it's also a tourist city, tourist destination. And we've got the palm trees. It looks tropical, you know. So steel pan is a great match, but at the same time, it's also like a history that's been in my family line. And if we can find a way to keep the history alive and incorporate like modern technology and sound, it'd be an amazing thing, you know. So that was my vision behind it. It was like kind of multi-purpose, you know. And the money aspect was just like, hey, if I can find a way that my band members don't have to worry about where the next dollar is coming from, we're great, you know. Now we go on tour and, you know, be in Malaysia for for a year.
That would be awesome. No, seriously. Like who would not want that, you know?
Right, exactly. You know, so that kind of was like, that was my vision and my mindset, but it's like you have to be committed to a project, you know, and you have to kind of see things from more of a futuristic standpoint to get there, you know. So like considering a band again, it's more so like I look at that situation as I just didn't have the right people by my side.
I think so. I think it really is a matter of finding the right people. Because I think here's the thing, I think in your case, so this is where it's vastly different from the Eagles, where, you know, like you are definitely the front person. You're the one, you're the lead of the band, you're doing writing the songs. Will you be like performing original stuff, right? Maybe
Or,
covers too, I
like
guess. But
futuristic or like my past situation.
no, your future.
Future, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So right, I would be, and I mean, not every song do I have to like for me, I don't necessarily always want to be like the front person. I don't mind like taking a step back, and even if I had another person with vocals or you know, or someone sharing the stage. But yeah, it definitely would be some original music.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Um, but I mean you're definitely the lead person though.
Right.
I mean this is yours. And
Yeah.
so I think yeah, I think if you have the right people who um who really just need to be good support, I think. Good
Hmm.
musicians, yes, but in terms of like attitude and all that, I don't think it can be somebody like who wants to launch a solo career or be the front man of a band. You know, like that can't be their vision.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's definitely factual. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Um, yeah. The two musicians that I play with, so one, he's also my producer. And I mean, I guess he's mainly my producer. And but he also plays, you know, and so I've been with him since the beginning. And the guitarist, we brought him in at sort of the middle of producing my first album. And then he played at my first show. And then I also just kind of wanted to try out different guitarists, and you know, and just meet and other musicians, and you know, and try them out and see what combination works. But we kept coming back to the original guitarist because I
Mhm.
think we just work really well, I think.
Chemistry.
And so at some point, and when I did bring him back like 2 years later, when I decided to bring him back, that was a point when I decided, okay, I think he's gonna be my guitarist. And that's it. You know what I mean? This is it. This is the
Right.
set right
This
here.
is it.
Yeah, these two guys. Yeah. And at some point, I think like when the finances and a lot of other things work out, I think I would like to add a third person, somebody who plays like a bass, like an upright and also like, you know, regular bass.
Mhm.
But you know, that's not going to be you because you have your own thing. And you don't play upright, do you?
I do. I
You
do.
do?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I've got one in my living room right now.
Okay, you know, maybe you could play on a gig or something, but you're not going to be my main bassist because you
Man,
have your own path.
I'll
Yeah, yeah.
be a
Yeah.
guest artist one day. Yeah.
Yeah. And visually it fits too because both guys are tall.
That
and,
would.
and you know, and sometimes you do have to like consider the optics, you know,
Right.
because it is a, you
Yeah.
know, a live performance is a visual medium
A
too.
visual presentation.
Yes. And so I'm the short one. And so you know, I'll be surrounded by tall guys and it just works really well.
Perfect. Perfect.
But anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
so I think so. So I think you know, it really is a matter of like assembling the right team.
Yeah, I
And
think the hardest thing for me is like, I don't know, I have the past 10 years, I have not found that many people, definitely my age group, but that many people in general that have like a very solid work ethic and vision, you know.
ah,
And maybe it's because of where I'm at. I don't know. But like even through my travels and whatnot, I haven't found that many people. Like I remember in college, it was like, you know, like the Watson Fellows, for instance, you know, it's like these were folks that were like, they're gonna find the cure of COVID, like before it even came out, you know, like they're traveling, like they're getting it, you know? And so whether it's music or it's personal, it's been very hard to kind of assemble myself with folks like that. And so I don't know if it's just like a changing times thing, or maybe it's just my environment, or, you know, but you know, it's one thing I've been looking for. Like I found a few great mentors over the past year, which is great, you know. But you know, in terms of like aspiring, like young, hungry musicians or artists or just people in general, I have not found that, you know.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's the artistic nature or the artistic temperament sort of like getting in the way of being um, a professional, you know?
Mm.
I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Yeah. I don't know. I really I just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember like college, for instance, like music aside, you know, it was just like I get up 6 a.m. I'm on the field with my track. You know, by 8 o'clock, I'm half asleep for my first class. Then I got a whole 8 hours of class, and I got practice again. Then I find time to do my internship, and you know, then of course rehearse later on, and then try to have a social life too. You know, and it's just like I kind of went about that as like a visionary type of aspect. You know, it
Yeah.
was I was doing it not because let me fill my plate, but more so like I think if I do these things, it's going to catapult me later on.
Hmm.
You know,
I forgot about the track and fields.
yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, thinking back, looking back, your life, entire life was all about one form of discipline or another.
yeah,
I mean, if you think about it, right?
yeah,
Your music, track and field, the fellowship,
yeah.
academics and
College.
all that. College, yeah. Academics and all that. So I mean, that's like really good training ground for,
Yeah,
lots of other things. I also hear like martial arts training. Anything that like requires you to train on a daily basis or
mhm,
regularly to accomplish something. I think it's a good foundation for anyone.
yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah.
whatever they choose to do later in life. Yeah.
Right,
Um,
exactly.
so I'm wondering, like, so the musicians that you're coming across, I mean, are they professional musicians or are they?
I would say, well, what's your definition of professional?
Um, okay, well, okay. So there are also different professionals. So, um, okay. So there are musical artists or musicians. Well, actual working musicians, I mean, if they may have their own thing, like they compose their own stuff or they have their, whatever, own
Mm,
band or whatever. But if they're working musicians, they also do a good deal of session work. So they hire themselves out as session
right.
musicians.
Okay.
Um, I don't know, maybe my experience has been, if music is what they do as a profession, like this is how they make their income, make their
Right.
living, then they tend to be fairly good about and disciplined about like actually showing up and
Right.
and doing what they're told or
Yeah. So I
whatever.
think, you know, at least here, like in South Carolina, the culture that I've seen is it's like, how do I say this without being offensive? It's just like, you know, if you see it, you got to get it, you know, like you just, so let's say you call me and say, hey, Amir, I want you to play upright on next Saturday, you know, I'm going to pay you $200. Great. I'll put it on my calendar. And then let's say Friday night, I get a phone call. Hey, Amir, I really need you on bass. You know, it's going to pay 400. You know, can you do it? All right, sure, I'll do it. And then I'm gonna call all my bass friends and be like, hey, can one of you guys fill for me and just play JJ's gig? Cause you know, I can't make it. You know.
Ah.
And so
Uh-huh.
now when you have like that sense of disloyalty,
Uh-huh.
um, like one thing that I've noticed is it affects the sound because
Yeah.
every artist is gonna have their style of playing, their sound. And unless you sit down and you study how that person plays. So if I'm filling in as a bass player, if I'm studying his riffs and everything, maybe I can kind of pull it off. But for the most part, you know, at the level that most of us are, that's not going to happen, you know. So now it's going to be like, oh, he played the bass different than the last guy, or oh wait, you're not the same. You're not the 6'9" guy. You look a little shorter than the last bass player, and so it's like you get that. So now every time the group comes out or performs out, it sounds different, you know. And so so a lot of that happens, and so it's just like I had a conversation with one of my one of the musicians that was performing with me. And I was just explaining to them like, hey, listen, I think that your character and I think that, you know, you as a person, your reliability is way greater than money, you know, because they'd asked me one time, like, hey, if we don't have a gig booked for next Saturday, and my job as a manager is to make sure we have a gig booked by the next Saturday, and it's Monday, if someone else offers them a show on Saturday, they're going to look at their calendar and be like, well, there's nothing there, so let me go ahead and commit. And then they commit to it. And by Wednesday, I have a gig filled. And now I have to find a replacement drummer who's supposed to be, or a replacement, you know, guitarist who's supposed to be, you know, that fill. And so.
Yeah. And that's really, really not cool. I mean,
it just
putting
it throws the dynamic off. It makes it difficult, you know, because then now it's like, okay, you have to reassemble your band every time.
Yeah. Also, I think with just days notice, that doesn't really work very well. I mean, I've had the occasion because, you know, something came up with my musicians, and so I had to either reschedule or find a replacement. That did happen. So it's not like, I mean, even with my regular musicians, you know, it's not like that never happens.
Right, yeah, and I mean, you know, of course, things can happen, but when it's a regular of like, you know, without contracts, it's like if I commit somebody to, or even sometimes venues, it's like, you know, you commit to a date with a venue or with a musician, and then they switch up on you for whatever reason it may be, you know, whether it's like, you know, like, oh, Kimani Marley's in town, so instead of having you guys on stage, he offered to play. So sorry, guys, we'll see you next week. You know, there's that whole fluctuation of just, you know, stability. So I don't think like, you know, when it comes to like professionalism of musicians, because there's great musicians here in Charleston, great musicians in South Carolina, you know, but I've found, and this may just be my opinion, but it's just like, you know, I mean, I was there at one point where I'd have 3 gigs, 3-hour gigs in one day, you know, and I'm like speeding down the highway trying to get to the next one just because I'm chasing the money. Like, okay, if I take 3 shows, this is gonna be a great Friday, a great Saturday, you know, and next thing you know it.
but not at the same time, right? So 3 shows, like maybe one at 5 o'clock, one at 8 o'clock, one at like midnight or something.
So I'd have like a 3 to 6, and then I might have like a 7 to 9, and then like 10 to 1, you know? And so here I am like, and then what happens, the end of the show, let's say they're asking for overtime, and I've already, you can't do it now. So now it's like, the band has to play overtime without me because I'm wrapping up my wires trying to run to the next show, you know, and they all pay the same thing.
I will say this, when I do my shows, I kind of do expect my musicians to stay at the after party. And if they happen to book something after that and they're like, oh, sorry, I have to go, like, of course I say like, yeah, that's fine, I'll see you later, you know, but inside I'm like, why can't you just hang out?
Right. Yeah.
I know I'm not paying you for the extra time, but I'm buying you food.
Yeah, but that's why it all goes back to, if I'm able to take care of my band members or my musicians, you know, where they don't have to, you know, look left or right, like that'd be the ideal situation, you know, because you know, in the past I've definitely asked for like creative input, and I've asked for even business input, like, hey, what do you all think might help propel our group to another level? You know, should we do more photos? Should we boost our Instagram? Should we do this, that? You know, and just trying to really understand, like, and listen to, the whole band, you know.
Then that is your band. What you're trying to assemble is a band. So they're not just musicians for hire that you're trying to
Right,
bring
exactly.
together. Yeah, you are trying to assemble a band.
It's a team, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Then I think you may have to go through a whole bunch of people until you find the right people. No, I'm serious, right?
Right,
Yeah.
you're right. And you know, it's crazy. I've been through a lot of people, you know, even like for my business, you know, going through employees, you know, it's the same type of thing. So, and that's why at this point, you know, it's more so like, okay, I'm gonna create my own music, and then we'll go from there. We'll figure out, you know, how that portion goes.
Yeah.
You know? Because it's just super tricky, and you know, I think it just goes back to the vision. If everyone doesn't have the same vision, you know, it's gonna be hard.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Again, I kind of go back to my earlier point. Maybe they don't have a vision per se, but if their attitude is, okay, I'm joining this team to support you.
Right.
I think that may be the number one thing that you'll need.
Right.
Is because like you could start with having the same vision, but then, well, this is what happens with any kind of team. Let's say in the beginning you may be on the same page about the direction, but then over time that changes. Either the different members have different ideas in terms of which way it should go next, or you may decide, okay, I think I'm going to sort of shift a little bit because I think this is the way it should go. But then they have to shift with you, right? But if their primary objective is to support you, then it doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a relationship.
It is like relationship. But in this case, you are the center of that relationship as much as you want to take care of your team members. Like, and you want to make sure everyone's happy and you know, and artistically fulfilled and gratified and all that stuff, because I mean that's a huge part of it too, isn't it? As artists, like, you know, if it's not fun and satisfying, like, why do it, right?
Exactly.
But so I mean, like, you have to make sure like those aspects, you know, those needs are met. But I think their primary should be making sure that you're supported.
Right.
Yeah. So talented musicians, yes, that's kind of a given.
Right.
Yeah. But in terms of like attitude and motivation, has to be like, I got your back, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's definitely true.
So, I mean, I don't know if the rest of the musician world agrees with what I just said, but I said it. Yeah, I said it, like Chris Rock says.
Right? Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah, but no, it's definitely it's been a fun journey, and I think, you know, I was labeled as just a bass player, so you know, I've got a T-shirt that I perform out with that says just a bass player, you know, and I haven't. Well, so I guess my live performances recently, I'd say all of 2020, I might have played one bass gig, and then now that everything's opened up, it's like I am playing a few bass shows. I'm doing a lot of solo for the Steel Pan, and then I've been a hired gun for drums now. So I made the mistake of playing drums one day at my show instead of bass. And the lead singer, he's like, wait a minute. He's like, I like how you play drums. So you want to play like 3 more gigs on drums? And then, you know, he's like, I never even knew you played drums. And then like I played a second gig, and he's like, yeah, you're gonna get all the drum gigs from now on, you know? So I'm like, is that an insult to my bass playing, or is that a compliment? You know, so.
Well, I think you've been playing the drums longer than you've been playing the bass, though, right?
Well, no, drum set.
Like a regular drum set.
Like drums, yeah, drum set.
Yeah.
So my drum set for me has been kind of like a hobby type of thing. Like, you know, I haven't really played drum set on shows. You know, it was more kind of like a, I don't know. For me, it's therapeutic. You know, so it's just like just crashing cymbals, and, you know, especially rock music. It's fun. I'm just like, so but yeah, no, I haven't. You know, I've owned a drum set. You know, I invested in a nice set for my studio at the time. So, you know, I've got a decent set. I used to just mess around and practice, you know, just take time to practice. But, you know,
Oops.
You know, you're good.
I know, it's just noisy. New York, you know, you remember.
Yep. But yeah. So yeah, that's kind of been, you know, the live thing has just been just trying different things, honestly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's amazing though. Yeah, I think so what made you decide to also start composing songs?
So
I think until recently you've been primarily an instrumentalist.
Exactly. Yeah. So I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine. This was 2000 and I want to say 2004, like 2004, 2008-ish, somewhere in that time period. And he's like, come on, man, like we need to do some studio work, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I was just like, no, like, you know, and I had a lot of experience like with Pro Tools and, you know, like I said, my dad had a lot of like Macs and things like that, you know, so I've always done some form of production. And I had like synthesizer class in high school. So I've always made beats and used to like rap over them and things. But I went the live performance route because back in '08, like the iPod was emerging and all this digital. And I was like, you know, I feel like there's going to be at some point in time a demand for live music once again, you know, because I felt like that culture was dying. So I just wanted to kind of support that and hold on to the live culture. Fast forwarding to now, you know, I feel like I did a great deal of live performance, but I also do have another side of me with the production, and I also produce different styles of music. So it's like not just reggae or not just Caribbean, you know. So it's like I just want to showcase like all that I have because I've played in all types of groups, you know, rock, jazz, funk, you know, hip hop, you name it, you know. So just taking all these different influences and when I perform, you know, I'm usually told like, hey, your sound is unique. It sounds like this, but then it sounds like something else, you know. And I think I just chalk that up to me being open to listening to different music, you know. So with that, it's like I feel like I can compose different types of music, you know. And so I was just like, you know what, start putting them out there.
So yeah, so how would you describe your music? Like if you had to put it into or a category or just describe it?
Right. I don't know. I think it's a hybrid of just different things. So I've got different influences. So I sent it in the list too, but I'll just name off a few. It's got like Steel Pulse, which is a reggae group, Bob Marley, of course. I've got Prince, Michael, and then like I like the Foo
Wait,
Fighters.
Michael as in Jackson?
Michael Jackson, yeah.
Okay.
You know, so and then like I like the Foo Fighters, I like the Doors, Van Morrison, you know, so having so many dynamics of musical style. And then I think just having a Caribbean background, a lot of folks in the Caribbean, like their job was to try to perfect American music as best as possible.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, you know, if you so you can find like a lot of Caribbean drummers, for instance, like they know how to play jazz really well, but then they can also play reggae and like, you know, soca, where like the vice versa, if you take like an American artist, it's hard to get like that syncopation, like the Caribbean syncopation or like some off timing, like African style drumming. So growing up, for me, it was kind of natural to take on the Caribbean music, but then I feel like, you know, like my parents, they had that, you know, the OJs and, you know, some of these American groups that they listened to on the radio when they were overseas. And it's like, hey, I want to be, you know, this next guy. And so there was also like that pressure on hey, if we play jazz, it's gonna sound like jazz. If we do rock, it has to sound like rock, you know. And so like with my production, if I'm doing a pop song, you know, it's got to sound like Adele or Katy Perry or Chris Brown. And if I'm doing jazz, you know, it better sound like Steps Ahead or something like that, you know. So
this is for your performance or for your album?
this is for my album, but also for performance now, like my set list is it is a wide variety. So I try to always have music that's gonna appease different people in the in the audience.
Wait, so just to make sure I understand. So for your album, then, so your album is then an eclectic mix of like different sounds.
Yeah. So
okay, so there'll be pop sounding songs and
exactly
jazz sounding songs. Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of like my idea back in 2012 was like I wanted to do an album that was like my interpretation of this style of music.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So that's how I hear that,
Yeah.
and try to express it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I try to do that too. Like especially this the album I'm working on now. I'm I want to incorporate some jazzy sound and some bluesy sounds and stuff. So, but apparently in terms of my writing, like when I hear that different type of music, I recognize it, but I don't think I have it in my bones yet that I can actually write it like exactly in that style. So it's like it's like jazz adjacent and blues adjacent.
Yeah, but I mean, that's good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Jazz, like as a kid, when I heard jazz, I just thought it was just a bunch of noise, like, because I listened to like Thelonious Monk and, and it's like they were at such a different level of their jazz skill that they played accidentals and notes that didn't even sound like they were in the key. So I'm like, oh, it's just noise, and then I guess as I got older, I'm like, well, jazz is more free form. You can just play what you want as long as it sounds good.
But in terms of, but a trained jazz musician though would have the foundation, a solid foundation, right, in order so that they can build on top of that. So in working with different musicians, I found that especially guitarists who have a jazz background, I find it easier to work with them than somebody who doesn't have a jazz background, who just plays like pop or rock.
Because of the music theory, right? Would you say more because of music theory or just?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Or the training. It's either the music theory or the training. Because in order for you to be a competent jazz player, like you have to go beyond, like you have to be a competent, I would say, everything else in order for you to be a competent jazz player.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just my thinking, I think. But I mean, yeah, I haven't worked with a whole lot of musicians, but like, 1, 2, 3, 4 different guitarists or something. And of them, the one that I'm working with now, he's the one who's trained as a jazz musician. The others, one I think was maybe trained in like, pop or something. The other one was he's actually he does a good deal of folk.
Okay.
He also does jazz. He does a whole bunch of things. I'm not sure if he's a trained jazz musician or not. That's a good question. I should ask him. But anyway, and at the time, my first album was sort of more so in the folk genre than anything else, like if you had to put it into a category. And yet for some reason, like the jazz musicians I'm working with now, like he's a better fit than the person who does more folk songs.
And you think it's because of his jazz experience, or
it could just be him? Because every musician is different, right? Not all jazz musicians are the same either. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, or it could just be him. Like I think he's just maybe a better fit for the music I'm writing. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, could be. But anyway, yeah. So you're gonna have to go through a whole bunch of people until you find your team.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Because I was thinking like Erykah Badu, for instance, she is one of my favorite artists, and I've seen her live. I think just once, but I've seen a lot of her concerts. And it's like, I know, of course, at that level, it's different.
Yeah.
She can make a phone call and be like, hey, I need a bass player in this city and a drummer. That's, it's going to be great. And then that's it. Like they'll rehearse, a few hours before the gig and that's it. They got it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wouldn't mind doing something like that either, where it's just like, as long as they know the material real quick, and that's it. I'll send them the MP3. They can listen to it, and then just go from there when it's showtime.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, dealing with a whole group there's a lot to it, a lot more than people realize. Like you get folks showing up late, and it's like you have to take all that heat.
Yeah. Also, though, I think if you may have to kind of like work with him over several years for you guys to come together as a team, because sometimes it does take time.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I mean, my producer, we've now been working together for 10 years now, on and off. So it's not like we work together like continuously.
Right.
Well, since I released the album, we've done at least one show every year. Except for last year, I've done 2 shows every year. And almost always my producer is involved. And of course, because he produced my music, like in some ways he knows my music better than I do. And so right, because I mean you produce stuff, so like when you're producing stuff, it inside out.
Exactly. You know how the drums go and all the changes, everything.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, so like I have full confidence in him, right? Like, but every once in a while though, sometimes he'll like forget, like, wait, how did that sound go again?
Like, wait a minute.
Well, because I'm not the only artist he works with, so
right.
So after a while, like, you do have to like, work at like conjuring up your memory and all that. But once it comes back, it's done. But yeah, like he knows my music inside out. But now, like, the more I'm also working with my guitarist, like he's now getting a little more involved in the sort of the making of it. So the first album, I brought him in when all the songs were all written and a lot of the parts, except for the guitar part, they were all already recorded. So he came in at the end. But now with the second album, like I'm involving him, as I'm working out the songs, as I'm writing it and stuff. So yeah, so that's been interesting, like kind of getting their input, and sometimes that kind of like changes how I think about the song and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I saw a documentary. So Linkin Park's one of my favorite rock groups, and
I don't know them.
You don't know Linkin Park? What?
Okay, I'm gonna have to look them up. Linkin Park.
Right now.
Okay.
But they were talking about let's see, so yeah, Chester Benningham, who is the lead singer. He was the lead singer for the group. But I was watching some interviews on him, and I think it was him and the rapper / guitarist, something like that. They spoke about how, the way they were completing their album was they would just come up with an idea and kind of just start the song and run it through the other members. And it was like they literally built the whole album off of like the input of everyone, and then I think they had an album called Hybrid Theory, if I'm not mistaken. But you know, it's like you can hear the influences of each artist through the music. Yeah, they did.
I have myself on mute. I love this cover.
Oh yeah.
It's like this abstract thing. Yeah.
They did a song called Encore with Jay-Z. Jay-Z did like a line on there.
I'm like, as you're talking, I'm like downloading every one of their albums.
Yeah.
I don't, prior to like a couple of years ago, I really resisted getting a subscription on Apple Music. I don't know why. It's like, I don't want to pay $10 every month.
Right.
But then there was, at one point, I was curious about a particular artist. And so I went on, I think Amazon or CD Baby or something. And I started purchasing like their entire discography. It came out to like way too much. So like I had to like select, pick and choose. And I ended up spending like $100 on a bunch of CDs that I still have not really listened to, you know? And I'm like, wait, I just spent $100 when I could have paid, you know, $10 every month and have access to all their music.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, for me, I was like very similar, you know, because there was a point where you could buy like albums or songs independently and the artist got like a certain percentage. But with like the subscription, it's like, how are they getting that percentage? Or is it per plays? Like how many plays?
I think so. I think it's per plays.
Okay.
So even if I have it downloaded, if I'm not playing it, I don't think the artists get anything.
Right.
The thing is, the subscription just gives you access to it. So it's not like, so as soon as I stop the subscription, my access to all the downloaded music, they all go, you know. Well, there's a couple of different, there's actually, you download and then you physically download. I think in that case.
Right. Yeah. So you have it on your playlist and then you can download from the cloud.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly. So, you know, if you're actually physically downloading to your hard drive, I wonder if you end your subscription, if that goes away too. I don't think so, because it's on your hard drive at that point.
Right.
Yeah. So we probably, so that means I have to download every one of them before I end my subscription. Is that what I have to do?
Bring back LimeWire.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah. So is that something you're looking to do then? Like have your team members collaborate with you in the music?
Possibly. I mean, I think I just get a lot of my influence just from listening to, you know, different artists. No matter who it is, you know, I feel like there's something that you can kind of just take from anyone in terms of just creativity and influence. But yeah, in the past, that's kind of how it's been, you know, like with drummers, for instance, you know, I may have an idea of like, okay, hey, let's try this drum pattern. And then they do something that I like. And it's like, okay, you know what? We're going to do this break next time. You know, like the crowd like this. It's not permanent. Like that's yours, you know? So yeah. Definitely good.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool process, you know, and then somehow it comes together. There's this, so there's one song. So the last live show I did, so I record all my shows, and I started doing this where I'm commentating on my own shows. So I invite a guest commentator, and together we watch, you know, the show, and then, you know, we're commentating on the songs, on the music, on the performance, the stupid things I say on stage, and that sort of thing. And so I did a commentary video with Jody, my producer, and Sebastian, my guitarist. And so we were watching the last live performance we did, and we got to a particular song. And we all agreed, you know what? That sounds really nice how we performed that. And it was the first time all three of us were performing that particular song. And so we all agreed, like, if we ever record that song, that we're gonna have to like sort of do that, you know.
Right.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, and it just happened on stage.
Right.
Right. I mean, we did rehearse the song ahead of time, but I think how it actually happened on stage, it was just like everything came together really nicely, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a magical moment, sometimes you just have,
Yeah.
that mistake becomes, oh, this is gonna be a permanent thing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So how far along into your album are you?
That's a good question. It should have been done by now.
Oh.
Yeah, so I don't know. I have a lot of tracks. So it's just at this point, I find myself trying to be a perfectionist in many aspects. Like the song we listened to, I just had to kind of just master it and just leave it alone, and I'm like, you know what? I hear every imperfection in it, but I'm just gonna leave it alone.
Wait, you're mastering it on your own also?
Yeah, so I mix and master. Yeah, I did everything, like literally, and so yeah, because at the time I was, I've done like some mild production for other people before. And so working with different artists, music, it's a different sound. You hear it as like a second set of ears. So it's a little different than doing your own.
Yeah.
Like with me, it's more so like I have to start a track, record it, mix and master it, and then I come back to it a little bit later where like my ears are refreshed.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can be like, okay, yeah, this doesn't sound good, or this kick needs to come up, or whatever, So I think that's kind of one of my dilemmas, but I mean, it's something where I just want it to be me, like my sound. But of course, as you grow and you get better at what you're doing, everything you did before isn't good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I listened to my first album now, and it's like,
yeah, it's like, so that's kind of the trick, but yeah, we'll see, because I have to definitely release it, definitely have to release that. I've had some friends push me like, man, you can't let things, just pile up in the closet, but we'll see. I think this summer is definitely gonna be very exciting. And I think there's like a new breath of fresh air with COVID starting to die down, and shows opening up, better weather. So I think I've got a good foundation on like my recording situation. And so now it's just a matter of just getting back to the creative mindset.
That's great. And I think that's maybe a good place to end our conversation. Definitely come back anytime.
Awesome.
I think I think you said we have to have a fuller conversation about something. I think, was it your girlfriend? About how you met?
We could definitely have a conversation about my girlfriend. Yeah, that'd be cool. But
maybe she could be on the show too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we could talk about relationships. Yeah,
that'd be cool. Yep. And then I could talk about my my journey of trying to keep a band together, and family band drama.
Yeah,
we could keep it interesting.
Oh, no, we definitely could. Yeah, relationships, and because also you're a couple who also work together, because she's involved now with your music, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I actually have an experience working with my partner, and that did not end well.
And they say dating a musician is like, one of the worst person to date is a musician, apparently.
Really? Why is that?
Well, musicians have groupies, and and then the whole nine. I don't know, musicians don't always have a good stigma. And musicians could also be very emotional, like,
Well, that could be said about artists in general. So like,
sure.
Yeah, like painters and actors and what have you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But musicians in particular, really? Like, so you have groupies already? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think they're groupies, but my girlfriend may. think that they're groupies,
Oh, I see.
I've had, like, when we had our band, for sure, I had groupies come to the show, and they were offended that I did not say hello, or they were offended that I didn't recognize them. I'm just like, I'm sorry, like, I don't even know who you are, okay, but it was cool to have, to definitely see like reoccurring faces, to let you know they're gonna come support your music even on like a local, level.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so whether they're groupies or not, you do have to pander to your fans a little bit.
Exactly, of course.
Yeah, if they come up to you and act like they know you, you have to at least pretend and say hi and be nice to them.
Of course,
if you want them to continue coming to your show.
Definitely. See, in this one instance that I'm referring to, it was like we rushed from another show. I was like talking to the sound man, trying to get things going on, had another artist that was running late. It was like a lot going on, and I was playing like Mr. Manager, and I guess in passing, like, you didn't wave to me. I was like, I didn't.
Oh, well, that's a little presumptuous.
Right.
I mean, expecting somebody who's on stage to remember everybody who's in the audience.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's yeah. But
yeah, it's interesting.
I'm actually, you know what? Let's save this for the next podcast, because I have some funny stories about an artist that I had been following. I guess I still kind of follow him. I don't know. But yeah, there was one time when you know what? I'm gonna save this story because it's a funny story. Yeah, let's like swap stories, funny stories, and about relationships, about performing and all that stuff next time. So yes, before we go, where can people find you, your music and all that?
Awesome. So right now on Instagram, it's Amire Solomon. So first name Amire Solomon, all O's in between. And then the Steel Empire is our YouTube. We definitely will be putting out more material. We've been slacking a little bit with the videos, but we do have material that's unreleased, so it will be coming soon. And then let's see what other link. And then I have a BeatStars link. So for any other artists looking for material for music, instrumentals, inspiration, whatever, I have a BeatStars page, and those are just instrumentals that I put out. I may have like 10 or 11 tracks on there, so you can purchase them or you can just listen to them. And that link will be, I emailed you the link, so
okay,
in the description.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, awesome.
But yeah, definitely follow us.
Yeah, and all that will be in the description when this episode airs. And it will air not this Friday, next Friday. So I've been releasing the episodes like on Fridays, trying to keep to a regular schedule. I think you and I would just happen to record this earlier than usual, but that's okay. Whatever. It's not like it's time sensitive.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was so great to see
Definitely.
you.
Great to see you too. Next time I'm in New York, we'll make it happen.
We'll definitely make it happen. Yeah. Until then, I'll check out your I think I'm already following you on Instagram, but I'll check out your YouTube channel. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Anyway, so thanks everyone for listening. Stay on for a minute, but everybody else, you guys can go. I do chat with the guests like offline for a couple of minutes after the show ends. But anyway, thanks everyone. You could find Beer Cake with JJ Co on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and Twitter. And the audio podcast airs on most podcast streaming services, so you can find us and tune in next time. Thanks.